gas station next door to my house was quite convenient. I filled up my car. I walked in, leaving my car at the pump to say hi to some friends who lived across the street while I waited for my food to be ready. Maybe 15 minutes chatting to my friends, I walked back across the street grabbing my Thai food. Across the lot to the gas station, I went into my car and a 2-minute drive to my house. At that time, I lived in a duplex with a gutted adjacent flat attached. So behind me was an old, vacant motel that was currently being remodeled, gutted, repurposed into studio apartments. The nearest building to the left was an old, pub bar leading to the main street and highway, and to the right was an empty lot where a building was demolished nearly 10 years earlier. The rest of the neighborhood was lower income and Hispanic. So, you get the idea of my surroundings. I pull into my drive. I noticed a car driving relatively slowly past my house. I went inside, leashed my dog up to let her out. Standing in the yard, waiting for the dog to do her business, a maroon Subaru Forester drove by slowly multiple times, pulling into my driveway. I assumed he was lost or looking for someone and walked up to him as he got out of his car and began to walk towards me. So now we were walking towards each other. He looked like an older man, maybe in his 50s. I remember he kind of reminded me of my dad. I asked him if he needed anything, and he replied, "No, I'm just checking on you." Well, now I'm a little creeped out. Okay. I didn't know really what to say. I'm just checking on you. I asked him did I know you? Maybe I didn't recognize him. He replied, "I saw you by the gas station. You seemed like you needed help. I'm just seeing if you are okay." I'm usually pretty slow to the gut, but at this point I'd pieced together that this man had followed me from the gas station to a friend's house, to a restaurant, and then home. Immediately, I felt uneasy. He's standing there, not turning around and leaving, as I told him, "No, I'm fine. I'm just walking my dog." I'd, at that moment, processed the entire situation very clearly in my head. But then I said, here's my logical, more compassionate side, thinking maybe, just maybe he's a nice older man checking on a younger female. And then I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I'm not picking up what you're laying down," because he kept asking me, "Are you okay?" I said, "Why are you here?" "I'm just a nice guy checking to see if you're alright." I specifically remember him calling himself a nice guy. "Wow," I told him, "you need to leave before I call the authorities." To which he asked, "Do you wish you had a nicer place?" Now, I have a medium-sized German Shepherd who was friendly and reached out toward her for a pet. I yanked her by me and said no, and pretty aggressively told him, "Dude, you need to leave." Finally getting the picture, he started to back away. I looked at him in a very aggressive manner, stood in the driveway until he got into his car and drove off. I took down his license plate, car description, and his physical description. I went inside. Less than 15 minutes later, this jackass pulls back into my driveway, sat there for a second, but then he drove off. What the hell did he want? Just nothing sat right. I decided to file a police report. I figured it was nothing but This is why you report stuff even if it's not going to go anywhere, because it may be a link. It may just solve a murder or serial killer or something later on down the line. You never know. At 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, same night, I called a 9 emergency number, but it was closed. I filled out a report online and never heard back from the police. But that's okay. You don't have to hear back from them. I never saw the man again or his maroon Forester. He might have just been a weird old man. I never saw any reports of anyone going missing from the West where I lived in 2000 either. I know it's a stretch and probably has nothing to do with anything, but I only just thought of this in the last few months. They caught a guy in New York, and I was wondering if he was in Nevada or somewhere out west, Wyoming, Colorado, before it ever came out. Same age, same build, but how do you remember a face from 7 years ago? I just remember the man at my place having more salt and pepper hair. He treated me like he thought I was soliciting and he wanted to help, quote unquote. He did not respect my boundaries. It was probably nothing and not the same man, but it did look like him and had very similar mannerisms as him. It really freaked me out. I know it's just an off situation, but do you ever have things just stick with you, encounters that never leave your thoughts? I don't know, by posting this, I'm just trying to connect this in my way of making it make sense. The Rex, Long Island serial killer, actually had a house in the West in Nevada. Now, I'm not sure what other information there is on this guy. How tall was the guy? Rex is 6'6", I believe. But he would confront people in their front yard and tell them, I'm a nice guy. Nice guys don't follow you home. Nice guys don't follow you home. Just remember that nice guys do not follow you home. I can't even express that enough. They don't want you go into a restaurant. They don't want you pump your gas. They don't want you go inside and get your dog. But I promise you, nice guys do not do this. And if somebody tells you they're a nice guy, run for your freaking life. People that say they're nice guys are not nice guys. I'm just letting you know that, I don't know, just things happen every single day, people. Just because I may be overly aware does not mean I'm wrong. Now, years ago, my parents would take me on many vacations, mostly cruises, but sometimes we would go to resorts like in South Carolina and stuff. And when I was 14, I always wanted to be older. I'd lie about my age, and well, this got me into trouble. Some guy tried to get me to leave with him. I was on a South Carolina vacation with my mom and dad. I was around 14. I'm in a bikini at the pool that had a bar attached. I'm talking to this group of people, all guys, possibly a girl with them. I can't really remember, it was a long time ago. was drinking, obviously. I wasn't going to offer that information up. Clearly, everybody was a lot older than me and kept putting drink after drink in my hand. Now, I'm not sure if they knew I was younger. They probably did, and they just thought it was funny. I was happy that I was getting drunk at a pool in South Carolina with a bunch of cute guys, out of sight from my parental units. But then these guys started to try to convince me that one of the guys in the group was just 17, not 21, and I should talk to him because he liked me. Even then I knew he definitely was not 17. He was older, not as old as the other guys, who seemed to be in their late 30s or so. In my opinion, looking back, nobody really talked about their age, really. They just knew I was probably younger. They were older. Now, in hindsight, I do believe he was probably in his late 20s. I was young and stupid. I just thought they were, I don't know, pulling my leg, joking around with me. Because when you're young and you do things, you don't really expect them to go anywhere. You know, you just want to look cool and be cool. You don't actually want to go do anything that might put you in a precarious position. So I'm hanging out with them and I laugh it off at first, but they push persistently. Now, keep in mind, the whole time my dad is in the same pool talking to his friends, not paying any attention, that I thought he had his eyes on me for the entire time. He knew what I was doing, but he was trying to give me my space. Now, my parents are very strict. He did not know what I was drinking, that it was alcohol. The pool was big, huge. Actually, you couldn't hear what was being said. At that point, I was totally wasted. My first time actually getting seriously drunk. I don't even remember actually leaving with this guy from the pool trying to tell me he was 17. Apparently, my dumbass did. I remember thinking, oh gosh, he was cute. You know, the old beer goggle situation. Yeah, that hit me pretty hard. So, I don't even remember the whole thing, and I can't remember today. I wonder what we talked about, but the next thing I remember is walking and approaching a bus stop that was a 10-minute walk from the resort. So I know it was 10 minutes because my family always walked to this bus stop from the resort. He told me I had a nice body and asked me if I've ever had sex, if I was a virgin. I started laughing, and he sat on the bus bench and pulled me into his lap. At this point, my world is spinning. I don't protest, even though I remember thinking I wanted to be back at the pool. Then, something wonderful happened. I threw up all over him. So, I threw up all over him. I mean, on his face. I kept throwing up. I'm not kidding. Exorcist level projectile vomiting. Remember, I had never been this drunk before in my life. He's extremely grossed out. I don't remember what was said, but we ended up walking back to the resort, and I never saw him again, thank God. I do remember feeling so embarrassed, which is ridiculous in hindsight. I wobbled back to the pool area, covered in throw up, where my mom had called the police, and my dad were freaking out. My mom's piercing voice sobered me up a bit because I remember these parts a lot clearer, even though they're still really hazy. Let's just say, when your parents start screaming at you at the top of your lungs and you are messed up, you listen. And you sober up. They were furious. They saw how drunk I was and demanded to know how I got drunk and who got me drunk. My mother was adamant on finding the guy who took me to the bus stop and all his friends, but they just disappeared from the pool. I didn't know what the big deal was back surprised because she yelled at me over trivial things all the time. My dad, which surprised me, was also so easygoing and honestly probably would have been a bit amused to me being drunk, throwing up, not in a cruel way, but because I was learning a lesson about alcohol. But he actually straight up told me that at some point before this whole thing. But I know now his anger wasn't directed towards me. He was cursing about the guy. He was scared for me, scared for my life, scared about what would happen. I could vaguely hear my dad cursing terribly, speaking to my mom in our native language. I actually was freaked out. I couldn't focus. I remember wondering why they were making such a big deal. Years later, I understood later on that day because this all happened like 2 in the afternoon. I was at least cognizant by dinner time. I expected my mom to blow up at me when I was sober, but they were both kind of quiet and staring at me, didn't leave my side. I can't imagine what they were going through, knowing about the danger I'd been in for hours, staring at me like that. It was a miracle I was there. I was young and stupid. I would live to give my deep thanks and gratitude to beer for constantly annoying my stomach to the point of projectile vomiting. That is for sure. So, in hindsight, it's always 20/20. And when you're young, you do stupid things. But just remember, people who are feeding you alcohol like that, men, women, young or old, do not have good intentions. They just don't. They do not have good intentions. Remember that. Alright. Now, I used to hang out with my cousin all the time. Actually, all my cousins, we would always hang out together. But there was this one time, my cousin Bryce and I were both 10 years old at the time of this encounter, and now I'm a lot older, 48. It has stayed with me ever since. Now, we spent most of our young lives roaming the woods, streets, not causing trouble, but kicking around footballs around fields, climbing trees, running around, playing in the snow. You know, your typical kid stuff. The stuff we did before iPads, Netflix, and electronic devices became actually a thing. One day we decided to go explore a part of the town that we never explored before. Now, my friends and I at home would love to do this. It was something my neighbors and I did a lot, but my cousin never really was allowed to do this. So when we had the chance, I was like, come on, let's go. Now, it wasn't legal back then, but nobody really said anything like they do now. Everybody's so protective of their property. So we were going through some backwoods, and we found a trail that actually ended up about 2 to 3 minutes from my house, which was a safe part of the town, kind of way out in the suburbs, almost the country. It was a beautiful day, not too warm, kind of cool. My cousin and I had been walking for what seemed like a million miles, because he didn't like to walk all that far, so he's kind of whining through the whole thing, which was annoying me. I almost turned around, but the trail actually ended, and then we got kind of bored. We were supposed to go longer. We decided to take a detour back home. I don't know why we did this. We just decided, hey, never mind. We cut through a different part of the woods that looked a little bit like kind of like the maze from The Shining, if anybody's familiar with that. It had a lot of those weird, thick half of his face that we could see enough anyway. Above his mouth was covered with a veil, somewhat like a Halloween mask. Except it was June. Halloween was months away. We got closer. We noticed the boy had a kitchen knife. A long kitchen knife in his hands. Real shiny kitchen knife, both hands on the handle. Like he was going to come stab us. The sunlight made the blade really light up. Out of nervousness or fear, we threw out a joke. Cooking outside. But he just stared at us blankly. No emotion, nothing. We were freaked out. We just froze. That's when we realized he had not moved either. Not a muscle. We saw him blink, but physically the knife had not been risen up or pointed at us, just held closely to his chest, blade pointing upwards. We figured we should get away because instinct told us that was not normal and a little bit freaky. Going back down into that weird maze also made me uncomfortable, but it was better than the alternative. So we're stuck in this maze-like set of trees that were perfectly manicured with a kid, a strange kid with a knife. Which was better, right? So we ran into the weird maze until we came to a road on a steep hill. It was our best bet. We walked up to the top of the hill, keeping an eye. We could still see the kid. It was like he was following us but kept his distance. Luckily, the top of the hill was 2 to 3 minutes from my house in terms of distance, at least as a crow flies. But at last we felt safe as we looked back down the hill. Alone, a kid had put the knife by his leg, now holding it with just one hand, remained in the exact same spot, stared right back at us without an expression. We ran into the house, told our parents. They called a local police enforcement team to scout the area. Apparently the kid was found with the knife. We never heard why he was there or what he was doing. Many years after this happened, it still haunts me. I don't know whatever happened to that boy. I wish I did. There's a lot of things I wish I would have found out. Too many stories, too many memories. Too many. Now I've had weird neighbors. I've had neighbors that have blown off fireworks when I lived in a duplex. I had a neighbor that I swear was a satanic ritualist. My dad said she was in love with me, but I don't know. She made my life hell till I moved out, but this creepy neighbor was back when I was 25. I had a husky back then. I walked around my quiet neighborhood. It was nice. The brush outside was like short, waist high, and a little bit of grass. So around 3 p.m. I'm standing in my front driveway and I'm brushing my dog when I turn around to see a complete stranger. This is a grown man standing behind me. He begins by asking me if he can say hi and pet my dog, because he's quote-unquote seen me around a lot, but I had never seen this man. This puts me on edge. I am now freaking out a little bit because I know I've never seen this guy. I'm hesitant and I allow him to pet my dog, but I notice he's on FaceTime with his phone pointing at me. He tells me he's just moved here from South Africa, bought the house at the end of the road that's been abandoned for over a year now, and it was never posted for sale. He started asking me if I'm 16 because he likes 16-year-olds, which made me instantly disgusted. Following up with, "Are you alone right now?" It is your house? Is this your car? Do you live alone? Who the hell lives alone at 16? Are you around often? Etc., etc. Just like dive bombing me with questions. I didn't say a thing in response to any of them. I respond after he is done with, I'm not answering your questions, and I think you should leave. So he walks into the woods behind the house, coming back 25 minutes later, attempting to invite himself into my house, asking more questions, this time along the lines of, do you lock your doors? Are you alone at night? Getting upset with me for saying I do not want him on my property, and I'm calling the police to come outside if he did not leave me alone. He stood in the street watching me walk into the house and lock up before walking back to the abandoned house. But now I'm just left thinking, am I overreacting? Or if being totally creeped out is a correct response? I did put in a report at the local police, and I told a couple of neighbors, but none of them have seen him around. This is very, very unsettling to me, and I just wanted it to end. Luckily, I've not seen him since, but it hasn't been very long since it happened. So we will see, I guess. That having a stranger in your house is something that has always really terrified me. I was living and studying in the capital of my country. I had rented a small basement apartment built in 1917 next to a nightclub. Not much for getting a lot of sleep or a lot of studying done at certain times, but it was inexpensive and I could afford it at the time. I was preparing to go to sleep quite early since I had class at 8 a.m. the next day. But right before I fell asleep, I remembered I forgot to lock the door. Since the city I lived in was generally quiet and safe, the only way to get the entrance of my place was past a front gate. All around to the other side to the house and down some stairs. I didn't think much about it and proceeded to fall asleep. Now skip forward to the middle of the night. I wake up. I feel something pulling my blanket off of me. In a confused state, I extended my hand and feel a hairy male arm under my fingertips. My first thought was, oh, this is probably my drunk roommate. But then I remember he's at his girlfriend's house on the other side of town. In the pitch black, I jump from my bed, rush to the light switch, and I turn it on. I find a freaking stranger in my house, a student my age, standing in his underwear by my bed, and his underwear clearly wet with urine. I am creeped out. I'm trying to stay calm. I had no idea if this dude was violent or what was going on in the first place. I just calmly said, man, what the fuck are you doing here? He was very confused and took a seat in a recliner I had in my dining room. There we are, both in our underwear, covered in piss. I on the border of pissing myself. What does he do? He extends his hand and introduces himself to me. At this point, I go, okay, dude, get out of my house, and start escorting him to the hallway where I find all his clothes and shoes on the floor. As I'm escorting him out, he goes into the bathroom and locks himself inside. I hear him turn on the shower and proceed to knock on the door saying, hey man, if you don't leave right now, I'm calling the cops, to which he replies, I'm not afraid of the police. Well, that's just perfect, isn't it? But I'm just hoping he's taking a shower and that's it. But it only takes a few minutes. He steps out of the bathroom, butt-ass naked, yep, with my roommate's towel wrapped around his waist, looks at me, kind of content, and says, hey, did you see? They got a shower here. I am pissed off at this point. Who's got a shower, asshole? This is my shit, a sudden expression of complete fear appears on his face. Oh my god, what have I done? I thought it was at the club, like this is the back room of the club, Jesus Christ. He starts exclaiming, he was so sorry, awkwardly trying to get dressed in the hallway. All of a sudden I go from being pissed to being embarrassed for him, and I kind of feel bad. I managed to get him dressed and out of the house. I even called one of his friends from my phone to come pick him up at the club. It turns out he's from a completely other part of town and just came to party. That's all. Got kicked out of the club for starting a fight and somehow managed to get into my place. He wasn't harmless. He just thought that this place in his drunken state had, I guess, this was his hotel. I don't know. I really don't know what this guy was thinking. He was just so, by the time he figured this out, he was so embarrassed he could not wait to get out of my apartment. I felt really bad, and to this day I have no idea what he was on or how the hell he even managed to find my apartment. I guess he just went from the club next door, which was my apartment. It is quite hidden from the street, but, you know, even a squirrel can find a nut. So I actually find the guy on Facebook a while later. Turns out we actually do have a mutual friend, which is kind of funny to me. But at least it was nothing sinister. It could have been a lot worse. Now I've read many stories about creepy Lyft drivers. Some that have taken advantage of young women, have offered them drugs. Remember, just because they say they're from Uber or Lyft does not mean their intentions are good. So this is my story with a really disturbing Lyft driver. I live in a major city where Lyft and Uber gets used every night because of the nightlife. Last week I was going to meet my friends at a bar downtown. I take a Lyft so I don't have to worry about parking or drunk driving. I order my Lyft, and 10 minutes later, he arrives. He's an older man, maybe in his 70s, thick accent, very frail. Because of his age and fragility, I was not scared, which I normally would be when riding late with an unknown male. So I get in the car and said, "Everything good evening, everything good?" To which I got no reply. Normally I put in my headphones so I don't have to make conversation with the driver, but he was quiet from the beginning, so I didn't have to. I just thought, okay, we're just gonna have a quiet ride. 5 minutes in the ride, he turns the volume up on his stereo and puts in a CD. Immediately I start hearing moaning noises and look up from my phone thinking he's playing adult films. However, it turns out to be a song with the entirety of the background noise being moaning. The lyrics are even worse. I immediately take my headphones out, listen to my own music. I get close to where I want to go. He takes a wrong turn into a one-way street closed off and dimly lit. What the fuck? I'm very aware of what is going on at this point. I am not stupid by any means, and even if I have my headphones on, I'm always super observant of what is in my surroundings and what is happening. I do not overdrink. I do not do drugs for this very reason. I do not want to ever be caught off guard. So, I, at this point, turn my music all the way down. He slows down to the point where I think he's going to stop the car. I unbuckle and I'm ready to run when he turns around and stares at me, not saying a single word. I call my friend immediately and tell her I'm close and come to meet me outside. He gets back on the main street and we reach the destination. When I tried to open the door, I discovered he had child lock on this whole time. Thankfully, my friend recognized me through the window, and I open the door. I leave right away. Before I do anything, I report him on the app. Thankfully, I got to my place, but this was so strange and creepy. I had to share this. This happens more than you know. I'm telling you, people are weird when it comes to stuff like this. I've worked as a merchandise supervisor for a long time. I started my career at the Gap when I was 16, and really, I haven't stopped ever since. I love it. One of my stores happens to be in a very high crime area. After work, I get into my car and immediately hit the lock button every time because I have to sort out myself for the next drive. I am glad that I do this because tonight I entered my car. Automatically, I locked the doors, grabbed my phone, and put my next job site address in. Not 5 seconds after I got in, a disheveled, angry man aggressively ran up to my passenger's door, starts forcefully pulling, yanking on the handle, trying to get in. I immediately turned on the engine, got the hell out of there. I was driving off, and he's screaming something at the top of his lungs. I'm not sure what the hell that was all about, but I definitely dodged a bullet tonight. It was terrifying. Do this even with your doors at home. Remember the other guy who had the stranger in his bed? Yeah. So I was 15. I had a crush on this girl from a different city who unfortunately had their house burned down by a meth addict neighbor. She called me as soon as it happened to tell me the story. I told her I will come as soon as I can. I really meant it because after I got off the phone, I changed clothes, sneaked out of the house. It was already 3 or 4 a.m. and I had no means of going to the bus stop unless I walked. The bus stop was pretty far from where I lived. I was switching between running and walking. So, if I got tired, I just sat down for a couple minutes. The pavement was cold, and it made me even more tired. But I got up and started walking, running again. Resting under one of the light posts at the other side of the road, I saw someone riding a motorcycle at a very slow pace. I can hear music from the motorcycle. I guess they saw me sitting because they turned and drove towards me. Now, I don't really think this is strange. I guess nothing really clicked in my head. He saw me sitting because maybe he thought something was wrong, so he started driving towards me. I kept sitting there until the motorcycle stopped in front of me. On the cycle was a dude in his late 30s, skinny, bald, and pale. Tied to his neck is a rope attached to a small radio player. It was playing music at a very low volume. Where are you going? He asked, having absolutely no sense of stranger danger. I tell him I'm going to the bus stop. He says, you won't catch the bus if you just walk. I noticed this dude is giggly. Odd, strange, giggly. Every time he talks, he finds it silly and funny what he says. But nothing he says is silly or giggly. Like, why is this funny? Some reason I told him okay, but I can walk very fast. But it's dark, he says, giggling again. If you want, I can give you a ride, he says, with a wide smile. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Yeah, I'm an idiot. I wanted to get to my friend as soon as I can. So I said, with sparkles in my eyes, sure, looking back on this whole situation, I feel like a dumbass, but I hopped on the motorcycle. We began cruising the streets. Well, riding on the back of this motorcycle, I noticed he makes sudden, sharp brakes that causes me to move closer to his back. When I pull myself away, he makes the bike stop again, so I can scoot closer to him. I'm forced closer to his rear end. A couple minutes on the ride, I realize he went the wrong shrugged it off and thought that was a fair enough statement, then got out of its car and went into my house. The end. Now, I was a complete moron, but it didn't really end in anything creepy, but stupid. It's a crazy way to get your first kiss, that is for sure. So, yeah, I'm an online dater, and I meet strange people. Let's just say 1 out of every 3-4 dates I go on are kind of creepy in some way. So, I had a creepy stalker coworker, and these situations are so similar. I'm starting to wonder if there's actually a training school for creeps. I have wondered that all my life because all of these stories have the same undertone. I'm 25. I'm a female. I moved to a new city. A lot of people from what I'm used to. A specific group on Telegram for people from my home city to try to find roommates, rental buddies, carpools, things like that. Friends. Well, this guy Ben reaches out to me after I posted my expectations. Must be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, what my budget was, etc. In the group, in this rental, housemates group. He says he's really interested and he wants to meet me. I figured it's a good idea to meet a few times before going house hunting together, so we set up a lunch meeting. During lunch, the only thing that annoyed me is him. I can lower my budget. I felt like this is a waste of my time, as clearly our expectations were not compatible. However, things went weird after this. After lunch, we were walking towards the subway station, and he kept tapping me on the shoulder. Every once in a while, he just would tap me on the shoulder. Although I felt the frequency was weird, I convinced myself maybe that's just how he is generally. My brother used to do that, which was he thought it was funny, but it was quite irritating. So based on our previous conversation, I learn where Benjamin lives, and he's supposed to get off at Station A and switch another line, which I would get off at Station B 2 stops after Station A and switch to another line myself. I'm quite new to the city. I didn't realize he had not gotten off at Station A until I had gotten off myself. He follows me off and switched lines with me while trying to start different conversations. So I'm thinking to myself, if this guy was supposed to get off and should not even be with me right now, what the hell is he doing? He's being pretty obvious, right? One stop before the actual station, I live nearby. I told Ben I have to get off. I need to do some shopping, and I'm ready to say goodbye. Benjamin followed me off again and went to the grocery store with me. Now this is getting weird. This is really weird. Every time I turn around in the store, this guy is really close to me, watching me. Let's say he had guess, for 2 months. I'm bored sitting around my unit watching 90 Day Fiancé. Oh my god. That is an addictive show, I'm telling you right now. I decided to make an old dating profile pop up again. So, I make no intentions about what I was interested in accomplishing, as I don't really know what I want. I just wanted someone to hang out with and see where it goes naturally. That's it. I just wanted to start meeting people. I was tired of sitting in my house. So I ended up matching with this one guy who had shared interests with me. We chat a bit over an app, and I gave him my number. Now we talked for a couple of weeks. After a couple of weeks, you are on the phone every night with somebody and you're getting a great vibe from them. You feel comfortable, right? I agreed to meet up because that is the next step. I mean, let's say it wasn't even through an app and I just gotten a guy's number off the street. The next step would be to go on a date, right? I don't know why, but these dating apps make the creepiest people creepier and normal people creepy. I don't know why. So we have a couple drinks. I'll be honest, I didn't recognize him because he didn't resemble his photos. And not at least to the extent I was expecting. I mean, he did look like him, but they were old photos, I guess, or, nowadays with digital enhancements, it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. He was a good-looking guy. I want to just say that. I'm not, bashing him for his looks at all. He was a good-looking guy, but he just didn't look what he showed me he looked like, which was kind of weird to me because he was a good-looking guy. I mean, I'm not trying to sound superficial because he was very cute. So I just want to make that clear. So now we've hit a point in, like I said, in social media culture where it's safe to assume that we don't see the same thing in real life as we do online. And a little bit of that is okay. We did hit it off. We discussed the usual first date stuff and then got into more details. I told him about back home and work and how life was different here in the States. At one point we were talking and holding hands, and I even felt comfortable enough to let him kiss me. Of course, if things are going really well, and I'm thinking, hey, this could be a really good start to something, I accepted his offer to a lift home, and he wanted to have a cup of coffee with me. I told him I wanted to go back. He asked me if I wanted to go back to his place for a cup of coffee. I said, do you want coffee or do you want coffee? And I didn't want to do that on the first date. He assured me it would be just a cup of coffee and that he would give me a lift home. This is where I didn't have to pay for an Uber came in. So I go to his apartment to walk up there. It was just a few blocks away. So as we're going upstairs, he says something about my tits. And then mentions how I'm not like most girls because I accepted his invitation. Okay. And then he says, you never know, I could be a psychopath. At this point, red freaking light bells, sirens should be going off. He looks me up and down and again mentions my quote-unquote titty size. I'm sorry, you're not going to get lucky tonight. I'm not doing that tonight, so if that's what you want, I'm leaving. I don't know why I did not leave at this point. I'm not getting it, I guess. But I go into his unit. Now he lives in a studio apartment. He dismisses himself immediately as we walk in the door to use the restroom. He leaves me sitting on his bed. Now, being it's a studio myself. But then I see something. He is in the bathroom for an extended amount of time. I notice in the corner by his bed that he had two masks. One was a cartoon-looking goat mask, and the other was a cat, maybe a tiger. That was more alarming. That he also had a Bowie knife, which is freaking terrifying. Small woodcutter's axe. A short distance away, further upon observation, there was a black jumper draped over a dresser. Then on his bedside table there were a pair of latex gloves. What the fuck? Get the hell out of there. I'm like, I yawn really loud, jump up, and yeah, okay, I don't feel like being murdered tonight. I got up and proceeded to make hastily off down the stairs, down the street, and catch a lift myself. Alright, I may have just hurt his feelings, which I could care less about. Maybe he had no malicious intentions. But if that's all that happened, then I prefer that over the possible alternative. All of these items alone would have been not that bad, I guess, you know. I mean, just one, okay, a Bowie knife, or one mask, and nothing else. But having the axe, the knife, the cables, the whole, like, murder kit basically was terrifying. I mean, within a short distance from each other. I mean, arm's length. That's how close. I don't know why, but I do feel bad for leaving a person, but I don't feel bad about leaving a person that could potentially have been a dangerous human being. That alone, with this random personality change, was enough for me to make the call that I made. I recently noticed that he blocked me from Tinder or deleted the app. So, I just want to say, latex gloves, a Bowie knife, an axe, cables, what the hell? This guy was either a serial killer that would kill you if you stayed, if you were that idiotic, to let you live if you actually got up and left because you noticed, because he stayed an extra long amount of time in the bathroom, obviously for you to check out his room. Or maybe he just got off knowing that you were terrified of him. Or he was just a weirdo with a bunch of weird things. I don't know. But let's just expect the worst and hope for the best, okay? Let's hope he's not a serial killer. Let's hope that this is just some sick joke. Red flags, red flags, red flags, I'm telling you, people. Just be careful who you go home with. I mean, the odd thing is that you can meet really nice people off Tinder, but I think this is the problem with Tinder and Plenty of Fish and all of that, those apps, is that people will not read the bios with clarity in their mind. You have to kind of analyze what they're saying before you even respond. You can kind of decipher the psychology behind somebody just by really reading what they're saying. If they're being very natural, making, some grammatical errors, just being themselves, you can tell. Then somebody who has really pre-planned something out. Yeah, that's the best I have. Just be careful if you're going on any apps, because it's like cyberbullying. People are different behind a screen than they are in real life. I mean, if they're willing to give you their number and talk to you on the phone and then meet up in person, but then they're completely a different person, even if they're just as good looking as the person is not the person you meet up with, that is a huge red flag right there. Like, is this a catfish account? Was he catfishing you into, because if that was just a ghost account that he had made and he's been murdering people off Tinder and luckily you got away, then he just deletes one account and puts up another picture, somebody else, but he's a good looking guy, so he knows that the victim is not going to run away when they see him, but it's, even if they do get away, they're going to remember that picture more than they're going to remember his face. That picture is what's going to really stick in their mind, because you've been looking at that picture for 2 weeks, and this kind of makes sense. You've been looking at his picture online for 2 weeks while you talk to him, not seeing his face, not FaceTiming him, not getting selfies that you can check the time when they sent them. No, you are talking and looking to a picture of this person for 2 weeks before you actually meet them. You go and meet them at a random bar. You sit with them for a couple hours, have a few drinks. He lives right next door, very convenient. Walks you up, asks you if you're not scared about going home with somebody who might be a psychopath. Red bells, red flags, red lights, screaming sirens. I don't care what you want. This is not a normal question. As you're walking to their apartment, starts making lewd comments, and no. But you're not going to remember that face. You're going to remember the face that you've been looking at for 2 weeks. Remember that. So, just if you're going to go on these dating websites, if you're going to go into a Lyft or Uber, or you're going to meet somebody that you met out at a bar, it doesn't matter where you meet them, always kind of have your guard up to see these red flags. Always be aware of your surroundings. Don't let your earbuds kind of control what you're listening to, and you're not focused on what's around you. The dark cloud with the red eyes hovers over sleeping body. I should start off by saying, that my brother is not only a military man, he's your basic hetero, never let them see you cry, basically. Cliche of a man's man or military man or any kind of tough guy. He's not afraid of anything except for what I'm afraid of, and that's Japan, the country. This is his story. My brother joined the Marines when he was 18, right out of high school, and they sent him to Japan. Of course, why not send him to his most feared place on earth, this tough guy? Well, he enjoyed his time there for a while. The girls specifically, he really liked the culture. He made friends with some of the Japanese guys his age who worked around the base on nights where he and his soldier friends had the night off. The local Japanese guys would show them around, bring them to bars, introduce them to girls, just party, have a good time. What 18-year-olds do and young 20-year-olds. But one night, after a little drinking and no luck with the chicks, one of his Japanese friends invited my brother home to play video games. Cool. My brother sure accepted the invite. There was nothing else going on, so why not? They played video games for a few hours. But during this time, he tells my brother the main reason he wanted to get home early was because his little sister had been suffering from night terrors, causing her to wake up screaming, crying, and vomiting in the middle of the night. He was worried about her and wanted to be home just in case she had an episode. At this point, my brother is really concerned because he's got a little sister too. Now I should explain how this guy's house was shaped, just to give you a little reference. The house was built in the shape of a horseshoe with a garden in the middle. His bedroom was at the very edge of one side of the U shape, and his sister's was all the way at the other end, so they were essentially across the garden from each other. So if this guy would look out his window, he could see into her room and vice versa. what he saw. He's a tough guy. He wouldn't even admit to something like that if he didn't see it. So trust me when I say my brother saw something dark, smoky with red eyes or a face that was not human. He's not lying. And I always say, there is something about the Japanese folklore that scares the living crap out of me. I don't know what it is. But my brother, well, he sticks to his story, and when he tells it, he looks like someone who saw something truly, truly sinister. Have you ever been to somebody's house or on vacation during a holiday? Well, this holiday house was infested with an uninvited guest. So my friend and I were going to a party a few houses out of the town that we lived in. We decided to stay at our family's house, their holiday house, about an hour south of the party. Now 3 hours from home. We arrived around mid-afternoon, and it was winter in holiday town, so the area was completely empty. No other cars on the street. When we left for the party, I spent a moment deciding whether to pull the gate all the way closed. I had some trouble opening it earlier when we had arrived, and if we were getting home late that night, I didn't want to be stuck outside. So I decided to shut it for security. Party was great, had a great time. We got back to the house around 12:30 in the morning, and the gate was open. Immediately, I felt on edge, and there was something heavy in the air, not only because I knew I'd freaking locked it, and the wind could not just blow it open. I did not want to make a big deal, so I just vaguely said to my friend, hey, was that shut when we left? Knowing damn well I'd shut it. We go inside and we make a snack. I was walking through the house, and suddenly my friend raced from the kitchen into the hallway and virtually tackled me to the ground. She was convinced she had heard someone walking around outside. We tried to calm down, get ourselves back to normal, but we had no cell reception, and there was no one else around. Over the next half an hour or so, as we sat in the hallway paralyzed with fear, we heard footsteps outside, and the back door being jimmied open with something like a screwdriver or something metal. It was unnerving, to say the least. Over the next half an hour, as we're listening to all this, we decided we had to leave. We gathered everything that we needed, got up ready to make a break for the car. As soon as we were right by the front door ready to leave, there was a huge bang in the backyard, and suddenly what sounded like hundreds of birds started screaming. We flew to the car, ended up starting it with our stuff still in our laps. We had not bothered to even put it in the back seat. As we reversed out of the driveway, we saw somebody, a person, running up the side of the house towards us. We sped the entire way home, and once we got back to my place, we did not sleep at all that night. Oh my God, can you imagine how freaking close they were to being attacked? Oh my God. So this is what nightmares are made of. This is what little kids think about at night when they're going to get a drink of water, and they'll just stay there for hours because they're terrified, in fear, with sweat coming down their face. And when you hear stuff like this, you know why. Intruder was caught hiding under the bed. This happened to a friend of mine. She told me about it a year or so ago. Minnie G is in her late 20s and works as an English tutor in South Korea. One evening a few years ago, she was was tutoring a high school boy. They were up studying late and the buses stopped running. Being a really long way from his house, the boy has to be good to crash on her floor overnight and get the first bus the next morning. Miniji was a little reluctant but had no other choice. I mean, inviting a teenage male student to stay the night did not sound like a really great idea no matter what, but she couldn't let him obviously walk home alone miles and miles away. That wouldn't be a great idea either. And he was begging her, and eventually she relented. They went back to her one-room apartment, and she got into bed while he laid on a blanket on the floor. They both fell asleep. Nothing was said or done. I mean, just went to sleep. A few hours later, 3 in the morning, the boy wakes up, jumps up and wakes Miniji up. He says, "I'm really hungry. Let's go get some food." Miniji opens her eyes and looks up at him in disbelief. Food in the middle of the night. It's 3 a.m. Go back to sleep. But the student insists, "No, I'm so hungry. Let's eat something now." She tells him that there's some ramen in the kitchen and he can fix it himself. This does not satisfy him. He does not want ramen. Alright, there's a 24-hour place just down the road. Let's go there. Eventually, after several minutes of persuasion, the boy gets Miniji to come with him to the restaurant. They leave the apartment and head out. Now listen to this. As soon as they're on the street, the boy turns to Miniji and says, "I'm not hungry. I woke up in the middle of the night and looked under your bed. There's a man sleeping there." What the fuck? They called the police and discovered that a homeless man had been living in Miniji's one-room apartment, sleeping under her bed for over 2 freaking months. The boy only saw him because he was lying on her floor, so he had a clear view under her bed. The police arrested the man, and thankfully there were no other issues. But that's by far the creepiest thing that's ever happened to anybody I know. Oh my god, yes. She's lucky he wasn't violent. I mean, this stuff scares me to death. Like, oh my gosh, I was telling my daughter that this stuff does happen. You don't understand. Like, there are things that happen. Just don't assume that because you feel safe in your town that you're safe. I promise you, you're gonna regret it. So this is a humanoid that is ape-figured hybrid, watches from an elevator vent. I used to live in China back before I moved to the US. 12 years old. This was in China. My friend used to live in those apartments that look like high-rises but are a little bit smaller. Anyway, in order for us to go to his apartment, we had to either take the stairs and walk up 10 stories or take the elevator. One day, we had a sleepover. We went to get the new Pokemon movie at 6 in the evening. The store was 2 blocks away. He talked about how creepy the apartments he lived at were because few people lived there for some reason. I swear I have only seen 3 other people in those apartments, and there are a lot of empty apartments, which is very creepy. Why are they so empty? He says people move in and out all the time. They never stay. And I was there all the time. On the way back, it started to rain really hard. We ran to his apartment and took the elevator. The elevator groaned and creaked, moaned the entire way up. Suddenly it stopped out of nowhere. The lights in the elevator went out, and it was pitch black and completely dead silent. The only thing we could hear was a muffled sound of rain and thunder from the outside. Being kids, we start to panic, scream, and cry. We were convinced we were going to die in there. This is the last days of our lives. We just knew it. We were there for 2 minutes when we heard a loud thud on the top of the elevator. Oh my god. Like we heard light footsteps walking above the elevator. We got really quiet, looked up at the vent facing upwards in the elevator. The vent had holes in it so you could see out of the top towards the long tunnel of the building. Our eyes had gotten used to the dark at that point, so we could make out a few things. The footsteps stopped and it was dead quiet again. My friend nudged me and pointed upwards towards the vent. What I saw was the scariest thing I have ever seen. I am now 20. I've never been more scared in my life. I don't know if it was my age or the fact that it was really freaking terrifying, but I looked up and could make out a face looking down through the vents. Looked kind of like an ape, but a humanoid figure ape. Kind of hybrid. His facial features, if that makes any sense, like he had a long, sunken in bone structure and a wider forehead. It was staring straight down at us. I do not know if it was our imaginations distorting a face of something else or an actual demon looking to us, but it made me literally freeze in fear. Both of us, we start screaming and screaming. I pissed myself. Today, it still gives me chills to think about it. The thing starts banging on the elevator roof. Did not scream or anything like that, just made noises by banging on the roof. It then ran off. We could hear the footsteps running to the side, on the side of the elevator roof. Then out of nowhere, the power comes back on. The elevator started moving again. We never ever took that elevator again. It traumatized both of us. Oh my god, yeah. Holy crap. So, I love to skateboard, and there's been a few times late at night that I've been at a skate park, and honestly, I've had some weird encounters. I don't know, sometimes it's the people, like, you know, they're testing me out, or my daughter, but other times it's just an eerie feeling. Well, these skaters got chased by a lunatic. I'm 23 now. This is about 10 years ago when I was 13, almost 14. I loved to skateboard all the time, and I did with my friends, Tim and Brandon. One day we had got done skating and we decided to go to 7-Eleven to get some food, drinks, whatever, before we went home. I was only 13, so we didn't have a car. We had skated to the 7-Eleven and were planning on skating or walking back home. Bullshit, just taking the short way there and the long way home kind of thing. When you're 14, you do anything to get out of the house, but we buy our drinks and we left the store. We walked to the parking lot's exit and prepared to cross the highway. It's not a busy highway, it's a small town. While we waited for the traffic light to turn red so we could cross, I looked behind me at the 7-Eleven gas pumps. I noticed this 45 to 50-year-old man pumping gas into his white truck. The look he gave me was horrifying. He stared at me, and before I knew it, he dropped the gas pump and jumped into his truck, slammed on the gas, and sped straight at me and my friends. My friend Brandon screamed, "What the fuck, you fucking dick," as the man peeled out and sped into the parking lot next to 7-Eleven. I swear to God, he drove through a ditch, which was between the 7-Eleven parking lot and the parking lot he was in, and tried to run us over again. Now this is where it got really bad. Yeah, you think it's bad now? Well, just wait. The three of us running as fast as we freaking can across the highway towards the local library, which is 2 blocks from 7-Eleven. When we were about a half block away, I looked back and saw this maniac speeding towards us, full of rage in his face. Brandon and Tim ran up to the library doors and ran towards the woods. And I ran towards the woods. It was a Sunday, so I knew the library was closed. I don't know what those idiots were thinking, but I knew there was a trail in the woods which led to my backyard. Meanwhile, the maniac, peeling into the parking lot, hops out of his truck. I checked behind me before I escape into the woods. I saw him grab a shotgun or crowbar. I was kind of far at this point, but it was long and metal. I was freaking out. My vision wasn't great. I had tears coming down my face. All I knew is he just grabbed this big thing that looked like either a shotgun or a crowbar at the back of his truck. I sped all the way home as fast as I could. I even left my skateboard at the other parking lot. When I get to my street, my neighbor, Tim's dad, told me to get in his car because we had to go to the video store, which is where Tim's mom worked. When we pull up, I found Tim and Brandon. They ran to the video store after realizing that the library was closed. 3 cops a minute later. My mom comes in crying her eyes out because Brandon and Tim told her they didn't know if I'd lived or not. Everyone had thought that I was captured. Tim told me that he saw the guy running after me into the woods. What the hell? This is the scariest part. I didn't even know. I just never looked back. I thought the maniac was chasing them, not me. But here's the even creepier part. He was never caught. I spent the next 5 years worrying about every white truck I freaking saw. Oh my god. What the hell? These are all anonymous. What? Oh my god. Can you imagine? This guy's after you. Like, what did this kid do? Nothing. He didn't do anything. Black, shadowy figure attacks visitors. Well, this is when I was back in high school, and I had a really good friend who lived next door. Well, she lived actually next door to a house that was always up for sale. People would move in and move out in the middle of the night, sort of thing. It was weird. They wouldn't tell anybody, and it would be for sale. Then somebody else would move in and then move out right away. It hadn't had the same owner for more than 6 months straight for 3 years. One night, we were bored. She had this brilliant suggestion we go explore the house next door since, well, it was now empty for a while. We go back around, and there's a dog door that we can crawl through. So my friend unlocks the door and lets me in. The house itself is really unremarkable. It looks like it was built maybe in the 50s and was, a craftsman style house in an older, nicer part of my town. My friend's house was similarly built. The kitchen had a really nice built-in breakfast table set against a picture window. The house's electricity was off, but you could see the street light through the window that illuminated the house. I honestly couldn't tell you. I didn't even have a bad feeling at the house at all at this point. So my friend and I just sit down on the floor across from this table, and we're just hanging out, talking. Why? I don't know. We just are. But that's when it all got bad. My friend, out of nowhere, screams. The top of his lungs scaring the shit out of me. In that instant, my vision goes black. It wasn't that I just couldn't see. My body was engulfed in this sickly coldness from head to toe. I begin screaming and feel my friend's hand grabbing mine, pulling me in some direction really forcefully. My vision slowly comes back and I start to warm up, and I realize that we're outside under the street light. It was December and should have been much warmer and was outside. Finally, I look at my friend and he looks pale as a ghost, scared to death. I am so confused. We were sitting talking, and the next thing I know, I'm out here. He says that as I was talking, a black thing, a figure, only had a vague shape of a girl, crawled out from under the table and sat on top of me. Apparently, I started groping around with my eyes wide open like I could not see. It freaked him out so bad he just pulled me out of the house. We are still friends today. Every once in a while we will bring it up and relive the story. It still gives us both chills. To this day I have never felt such darkness, sadness, emptiness, or coldness in my life. It was palpable, almost sticky blackness. Death, if I could explain it in one word. For a couple of days after, I couldn't shake an unsettling feeling. I could never walk past that house again. So, have you ever been looking into your friend's backyard and you see somebody else? It's happened to me a couple times. I went to a Christmas party a few years back. That night, my housemates went home early while I decided to stay, get in the Christmas spirit, with a few other friends. I ended up getting pretty hammered and got home around 3 in the morning. Instead of going straight to bed, I got another beer inside, then went out on the back porch to have a smoke, take a look at the stars. I was outside for a couple minutes when I see the light go on in the kitchen. My housemate comes out and looks at me, and then looks out into the backyard. I wave and generally look like a drunk idiot. I thought he was going to come out and get a debriefing on the rest of the evening, as there was some good laughs we had. Not relevant to the story, but anyway, he just gets a glass of water, goes to bed, finish my smoking beer, whatever, I go to bed. The next morning, we were rehashing the previous night when he mentions getting up and seeing me having a smoke out in the back. Who came back from the party with you last night? What do you mean? Nobody did. I give him this sideways look and reply, no one, dude, I was out there alone. No, you weren't. There was somebody out there with you, behind you on the porch when you were looking inside, waving. I didn't come out because I thought I was, going to interrupt some random friend from the Christmas party. Weird introductions in my pajamas. To this day, he stands by the version of events. There was somebody else there. Whoever it was must have been standing close behind me the whole time, but I saw no one and heard nothing and felt nothing. This freaks me out that I could have had somebody right next to me, right behind me the entire time in my house and not even know it. I was so drunk. I think about this often, and I tend not to drink so much anymore. So we have all heard of the hairless beasts in slams on the brakes. We fly forward, coming to a complete stop in the middle of the road. We all jump up and look over the cab to see what it was. Standing in the middle of the road was a hairless animal, around 50 pounds, standing on its hind legs. While still on its back legs, it walked to the side of the road and let out this god-awful screeching noise. It darted into the woods and let us all sit there in fear. We were frozen. Then we smelled it. It was the same terrible smell from the night before. The rotting flesh, the decay. We got into the cab. Sergeant Major, I had never seen him like this, was absolutely terrified. The animal creature we saw shook him to his core. We drove in absolute silence for the rest of the ride back to the site. When we got there, he told us that we were leaving and to pack everything up. None of us have been back since, and Sergeant Major won't let ROTC camp there anymore. We agreed that what we saw looked like a mix between a bobcat and a coyote. Walked like a bear on its back legs, but it had no fur. We called it Gadiote. A few of my friends who had not heard the story decided to go up there one day and said the entire area gave off a creepy vibe. Decided to leave after that. After I told them the story, it sealed the deal that none of us will be ever going back. So, what if you lose your child and she crawls into somebody else's house and is lost in a bedroom? Well, a small girl is discovered in somebody's bedroom. My best friend and I were at her house, just sitting there chilling in the computer room. We heard a huge thump come from her room above us, like a heavy thud. We look at each other, confused. All of the siblings were downstairs with us. We decided, fuck it, let's check it out. Brave badasses, that's what we were. We grabbed some airsoft guns, like that's gonna save us, and a bat, and picked up a bag of bagels. Don't know why. We get upstairs, getting a little apprehensive about being there in the first place. Her room door was wide open, which was no big deal until we saw her oak dresser moved about a foot. Now let me just tell you, this is a heavy, heavy oak dresser, and it takes two people on either side of it to lift it. She yelped and pointed at something. So I looked, and I swear to God, there was a little girl under her bed. Not her sister, just some little girl. She threw the bag of bagels at her. Don't know why. We booked our asses, not bad anymore, downstairs. To this day, we have no fucking idea what the fuck that was, because the girl, when we went back upstairs, was gone. That stuff creeps me out. Like, that's not even funny. I mean, that's crazy. Soldiers hear little girls sneaking inside training camp. I used to be in the military, and the training camp bunk that we lived in was said to be haunted. Occasionally, our stuff would go missing and reappear in weird places. Yeah. Like under a bed or inside a bag that we had zipped up and, stuff like that. No big deal, right? We just thought it was other people playing tricks on us. I mean, just like, doing what people do when they're bored. Then came the insistence that freaked everyone out. Well, one night after lights out, my friend was on his phone texting his girl. Most of us were drifting off to my dog stop all of them, and my one starts barking like crazy, jumping towards the van, and would not budge. I could not get her to move to get into the house. But I couldn't see anything because it was so dark out and all the lights were off in this van. We all stood there for a second. I tried to figure out what in the world they were barking at because I really didn't see anybody in the car. Now, I hear her bark quite a bit, and yes, she is quite hyper, and she doesn't stay in one spot. So this was a little bit different of a bark. It was a darker, more sinister, something is out there mom bark. And if you're a dog person, you know that bark. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog snoring. She's on my lap. So, but I have never heard her bark like this before. And freeze in fight or flight mode like that ever. So I'm staring at this van, and finally I see a figure dressed in all black standing underneath my neighbor's tree. My eyes could barely make him out, but I knew he was standing there, or she, I guess, but it looked like a man. It was a bigger figure. He was standing behind the tree, it seemed like trying to hide himself from me and the dogs. Not that I'm saying he was trying to get me, but something was not right. He should not have been there. So I walked towards my house a little bit farther. I walked towards my house. As luck would have it, I see a bunch of neighbors getting out of their car, and it scares the guy away. Even though I had mace on me, it was still pretty weird and scary. I got into my house safely, and I have not seen the guy back. So I'm just gonna keep an eye out. I just think it's a little bit weird and not just my paranoia. I don't think anybody should be at my house or around my house with their lights off, with their trunk open, in all black, behind a tree at that time of night. It just doesn't make sense to me. Not saying anything. So, if you do hear my dog snoring or the birds chirping, I am filming outside today because I just couldn't be in the closet today. Never let anybody lure you into anywhere, especially into a dark area. This was years ago when I was a 23-year-old student. My friend and I were living and also working near our college for the summer. A guy she worked with invited us to a party at his place. Both of us went, along with 3 other friends. We turned out to be the only females at this party. There are at least twice as many guys there. After drinking and playing a few drinking games, people started to leave. Everybody leaves. It is down to the person who is having the party, my roommate and 2 other guys. I think we ran out of alcohol, so we decided to go to another party. I had a few drinks, but not enough to be seriously impaired. My roommate, though, was pretty drunk. She's walking with her friend from work, and the other 2 guys that had been talking to me at the party were walking really close and talking to me. At one point, my friend and her coworker were walking far enough from us to be out of earshot. The 2 guys guys told me they knew of a shortcut and tried to get me to follow them down this dark alleyway. I look at them and I told them I wanted to stick with my group. That's what my mother always told me to do. Always tell a guy or somebody who wants you to go home with them that you came with your friends and you're gonna leave with them. They tried and tried for a few more minutes. They were so persistent, but I was super adamant that I was going to follow my friends. I was not going to be separated from them. But mysteriously, we never found the party. Now, as I was a little tipsy, the details become fuzzy. I think they couldn't find the exact location, but remember this is in the mid-90s, so no one had a cell phone to call or text to confirm a location. My roommate told her co-worker she wanted to walk around to find another party, but I was ready to go, even though she wasn't. Lots of people were out, and often you would just run into someone who would invite you somewhere. But I told her I wanted to go home. I was desperate to get anywhere away from those guys. But my roommate, feeling good, just was not having it. The two guys start to whisper to one another, making me feel super uncomfortable because I could only pick up on some of the words they said. One thing I remember them saying, "No, didn't you hear what she said? They live with poor guys, poor guys." This is actually true. We had 4 male roommates, which at some point had come up in our conversation earlier. This immediately set off more alarm bells to them and me. Like, why would they care if I lived with 4 guys? Why would they be afraid of that if they weren't going to do anything horrific to me? Well, I'm continuing to argue with my roommate, and eventually she gets it and realizes we are not going to find another party to get more alcohol. Finally, the 2 creepy guys just left. Her coworker walked us home. On the way home, I told them I wanted to leave because those guys were scaring the shit out of me. Now, if this were to happen today, I could call those guys out in front of everyone and make a scene. But back then, you really couldn't do that kind of thing. Well, that is the end of the top creepiest encounters. True creepiest encounters for this week. And I hope that you got a few tingles from the different microphones, the different settings. I hope it wasn't too annoying, but I just didn't. My studio is kind of claustrophobic sometimes, and I don't know, it's just nice to be outside when it's a nice day instead of stuck for 3 or 4 hours. And not that I'm stuck, but it's so tiny to get that. I like really want to go outside, so that's why I was on the other mic on my Yeti. So I do apologize if it wasn't as clear or tingly. I hope you listened to both parts, or skipped to this first if you didn't like the first part with the Yeti. But I love you all. Thank you all for listening, and I hopefully will get this out soon and that I can make another video. My next video is going to be the most evil encounters in the backwoods. True stories. Yes, I've been doing a lot of research on stuff, and then I'm going to do another facts creepy facts video, and you all love that one. So, and then after that, I'm going to do the second part of the showers, which is very, very interesting. And I thought the last, if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. But I did think the last creepypastas were fantastic. So again, I just want to thank all of those authors